So you guys have seen a set of introductions and different demos in the morning. You saw how you onboard a model. You saw how you can share a model. You also saw how you can use external libraries to package your model. Before that, you saw how the marketplace works, how you can browse, comment, download, deploy the models. That was the whole marketplace piece. So, and then lastly, you saw how you can take different models from different languages, from different toolkits, and create your own solutions by simply chaining them together and joining them together. So that's a very powerful capability because you can have somebody develop a model in scikit-learn, and you have a model in TensorFlow, and then you like another model in H2O that kind of completes a solution chain for you. And you don't need to worry about how they will connect and how you will pass the parameters and how you will make these remote procedure calls or join these models. The design studio does for you. And not only does that, it also enables you to create a whole solution you can deploy. So, so let's look at, this is all what you're going to get in Athena release. The point really is, let's see what you will get come November 5th when we will have this thing open on Acumos.org as the final build for Athena release, and then it will follow with subsequent point releases. So I'm going to give you an overview, and then we go a little bit deep dive into Athena release. I'm going to cover the platform architecture. You've seen a lot of solutions since morning. We're going to talk about what different software technologies we are using, and then I'll leave you with some developer resources so you can go and take the next steps of how to be part of not just Athena, but also the next coming Boreas release. We do have time. We have about 10 minutes or so in the end for Q&A, so we can do that before we break for lunch. So really the key drivers for Acumos and our first public release is it's to provide a framework to harmonize AI solutions. So we talked about different toolkits, different languages, different frameworks, but what is one common way we can synergize and reuse these capabilities, right, in one common framework? A distributed AI marketplace, that's a big gap right now. We don't have kind of an app store equivalent for AI right now. So one of the main goals for this platform is to provide that ability to where you can go in, you can search, you can browse, you can comment, rate, collaborate, and create like an app store model for AI models. Thirdly, to have AI models kind of interoperable with microservices form. So the idea is that you don't just have the models and algorithms, but you have runnable entities for those programs that you can use and reuse in your programs. And lastly, this ecosystem to expedite innovation and collaboration, this will help all the developers, this will help the AI community to really go forward and make advances by collaboration. You want to mute someone? Okay, all right. Okay, it's good we have kids' attention here. So, yeah, next generation. So, we are really proud to announce that as of now, Linux Foundation Deep Learning, we have about 14 members that have joined. 16 members joined, and we have significant industry leaders on this list over here. We in the Boreas release, we'll have more involvement from them in terms of collaboration and committers and reviewers, and that's just the way any new project just follows up. We talked about that. So if you are interested, we have representative from Linux Foundation over here, Scott Nicholas and his team. They can help you join, tell you what are the steps, how you can get involved. So let's overview what are the steps required. So first step, you go to acumos.org and you download the runnable and executables for the platform, right? What it gives you in 4 quadrants or in 4 steps, the first ability it gives you is to how you can create an onboard model. So we support scikit-learn, TensorFlow, H2O, and R Cloud. You create your models into it, you use the external libraries, you saw the detailed demos in the morning, and you can onboard those models onto the platform. So step 2 is where you can take a model, whether it's done by your partner or somebody in the marketplace, you can download and you can train it on your data set. As long as that model provides the training method exposed. You can then convert it into either a predictor or a classifier based on the type of the model. You can put it back in the marketplace. So you can train it in a different set of data, and that model becomes a version of that algorithm, which is now ready to be used for a different purpose. Thirdly, you can publish your models and share with the community. So it's up to you. If you're still in the work in progress mode, you want to keep your model private, that's allowed. But as long as soon as you are able to make this model to be shared with the public, other people can then search, review, and then use it as a solution in the design studio. They can chain it together and create more applications. There is licensing information associated with every model, and we're working on the next release. I'm going to give you a little bit of glimpse of that, what we're doing with licensing, how we will allow vendors to come in and basically distribute that model, which are not just freeware, but also have licenses. And lastly, you can deploy your model to the target environment. So it gives you these individualized microservices in the form of Docker images. So we have done in Athena release, we have deployed that to VMs as well as Kubernetes environment, and then using Docker images as your microservice technology. So let's talk about some of the key stats for Athena release. As an overview, we started working on it back in May. We did our kickoff. We did the planning review sessions. We froze the functionality, started working on the API design, did the code development, integration review, RC0, and then the final sign off, like I said before, it's going to be November 7th when we will release this to the public. What are the different features available as part of this release? You have seen the single sign-on, the personalized UI for the portal marketplace. You will have client libraries for TensorFlow, Scikit, H2O, R, and Java. You have onboarding, you have microservices generation, you have the marketplace, design studio that you saw. You have model connector, model runner, and probe. These are behind the scenes components that allow design studio to work in connecting your models as well as deploying them and running them. You have federation, which allows you to share models between different Acumos instances, whether it's within your community, within your enterprise, or outside with other enterprise organizations or with the Linux Foundation sites. You will get the deployment to cloud, deployment to Kubernetes environment. We have seed code as part of this release for dataset management, machine learning workbench tools. It's still work in progress, but we wanted to release this as part of the code so that developers can start looking at it and planning for release B. And then lastly, we have the one-click deployment for Kubernetes environment as well as for VMs, and then O&M functionality for administration, logging, security. So let's look at some key stats. Without that, it's not fair to understand the size of the release and where we are. So we have about 8 projects, 59 different repositories. We have over 500,000 lines of code that we are releasing. We had over 3,000 commits for this release by developers, over 38 committers, 69 contributors, 78 reviewers. So it's a good ratio of people developing to people reviewing their code. Over 42 epics, 176 user stories, 417 tasks. I'm talking about Jira items over here. So those of you who know about it, combined, we completed over 1,300 Jira items. So that gives you a scope of what are the different item level features and functions were done. And as part of this release, it will provide over 30 external APIs. I'm going to talk about some of them, and then over 100 internal APIs between intercomponent communication. We have on average about 40% code coverage, so that gives you an idea where we are in terms of testing the platform. All right, so let's look at the platform architecture. So we talked about 8 projects. Essentially, those are listed in terms of the components over here, right? So you have on the left side, you can see you have the toolkits, which are connected using this E1 interface that provides you ability to import your models. That goes to the onboarding module, which essentially provides both CLI and web onboarding. We have separated the microservices creation component in this release from onboarding into a separate new component called common services. So common services does microservice generation, Docker creation, package model running, model import, model exports, interface with Nexus repositories, and will provide test harness and tools related to that. In the middle, you have your model repositories and you have your platform database that essentially keeps all the system and component level data, model, and schemas. Model repository is what the marketplace or the portal looks at, which you saw in the morning, that has the catalogs, the models, the artifacts, and your test data. So on the top, you have APIs for end users, you have for administrators, O&M modules. You also have the external API gateways. We talked about Design Studio. So Design Studio allows you model selection, composition, validation, generating the blueprint, and then the whole design canvas where you can drag and drop and visually create your AI solution. Portal marketplace, we have already talked about that. So, and then the O&M feature is for the set of users who will be your administrators and your system administrators. So you have administration dashboard, user management, security management, monitoring, ability to set up federation capabilities, user profiles, and other things. So on the right side, you have the E5 interface that allows you to connect your instance to other enterprise and exchange and share your public models. So the model goes from a private catalog to your company catalog, which is only shared within your enterprise. And then you have a third view, which is public. So when you put something in public, it gets shared by not just your internal users, but also all the instances which are connected to your instance. So it will automatically get copied and federated over to other instances. And then on the bottom, we have APIs for deployment, primarily as part of this release and O&M. We have designed and identified the APIs for trainings and license management, but the functionality and feature for those will come in the next Boris release. Right, let's go next. So in terms of software technologies and tools, we've tried to just lay it out by different type of software development and the whole agile process layer. So starting with the AI ML toolkits, these are all the toolkits which are supported in the platform. For the agile tools, we've been using Jira and Confluence, and Linux Foundation provides a very good support for your whole project management capability for to run it as an agile project. In terms of code, you have the Spring Boot framework, Hibernate, object relational mapping. You have AngularJS, Bootstrap, Swagger for documentation using Read the Docs. And the code is in Git repositories with Gerrit for code reviews. In terms of data, we use MariaDB relational database, Hippo CMS for content management systems, and models are kept, the Docker images are kept in Nexus repositories. Testing, we use JUnit, Mockito, Selenium, Robo Framework, SOAP UI. Code analysis, we are very particular about making sure, and again, Linux Foundation helps us with a lot of these activities to make sure that The code is clean in terms of licenses and its dependencies, and then going through SonarQube, physiology scans. Build automation, we use Jenkins, Maven, Nexus. Platform is able to be deployed on Docker as well as Kubernetes environment. We talked about different model deployment sources. So you have cloud, Kubernetes. We're working on deploying it for white box servers, OpenStack, as well as Docker images. And then lastly, the logging and reporting is essentially using the ELK stack, using Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. All right. So the first thing, really the first place to get started is your acumos.org site, which is maintained and run by Linux Foundation. From there, you can get access to Acumos Wiki, our Gerrit code repositories, Jenkins jobs, where you can take the latest builds, Jira for any issues and comments, and then we'll have these slides available where you can find details about your CI/CD process and which other release versions available for you to use.